Andrew McCart, iFLTV, delighted for the first time in a long time, Mr. Ben Davison. When was the last time we spoke?
I couldn't tell you, to be honest.
I think it was actually Joshua and Ngannou. I think that might have been, when was that?
March.
Oh, that's not too bad. That's not too, last year, aye. That was, yeah. How's life? I mean, Pat McCormack right now is one of them guys that everyone's wondering what's next. When's he going to propel? Eddie Hearn's saying all these good things as well, but he's got a tough opponent against Davies Jr, hasn't he?
Yeah, of course. And, I'd probably say this is Pat's 7th fight. I'd say there's probably 3 guys in boxing that are boxing, moving at that sort of rate that early on. Probably got Keyshawn, Andy Cruz and Pat probably, and I think that's probably about right. And obviously Robbie's an experienced fighter, a good fighter. On top of that, anybody that I know that knows him says he's a top lad as well. And, it's a good fight, a great fight, and the right step at the right time, and it's focused on getting the job done Saturday, and then we'll look at future plans for Pat.
What I said to Pat was Davies Jr has probably had, I think he's close to 30 fights, or on that 30 professional fights, British champion, these minor titles as well leading up, fought out in America, so he knows the pressure of that. He knows his way around the professional ring. Now, all going well for Pat on Saturday night. He doesn't just jump maybe 1 rung on that ladder. He probably jumps maybe 5 or 6 rungs, so he propels himself up there. And I said to him, is he ready for the guys that are a wee bit more ahead of Davies Jr? And he said, it's up to my team, and you're his team. So you know Pat very well. We know how good he was in the amateur ranks, what he's produced in the amateur ranks. What Eddie's saying as well, is he ready to push on for that level above Davies Jr in his next fight?
We're just focused on Robbie. Like he said, just said all good things about him. Got nothing to say but good things about him. Experienced, achieved a hell of a lot in his career, and I'm sure he's coming with a lot of ambition. It's a big fight for Robbie as well. So you have to take into consideration that
Pat Barrett there.
You have to take into consideration the answer to those questions are based upon the performance and how the fight goes on Saturday. So that's why we're not looking ahead. We've got a job to do on Saturday, and then that's why I said we'll look at what's next after that.
I mentioned the gym as well. When he looks at guys like Moses Itauma, young kid coming through, and Anthony Joshua, Leewood, all these guys in the gym right now that are thereabouts and getting talked about left, right, and centre by the media, and there's big plans for them. And I says, how hungry are you to finally get your name dropped in there? I mean, we all know you're talented, but your name isn't quite talked about in the stratosphere. Do you know what I mean? So, how excited is he? Do you think he belongs in that stratosphere with them guys I've just mentioned?
Of course he does. He's one of the best fighters that I've coached. Like you said, in terms of the achievements, that's what we're on the path to doing right now. But in terms of ability, skill set, he is up there with the best fighters that I've worked with. And all those names that you mentioned there, obviously, they're fantastic. Unfortunately with Pat, we had a couple of inactive stints early on, but this is his 2nd fight in 4 months, so we're looking to build on that. But as I keep saying, we've got a job to do first Saturday.
I'd be remiss not to talk about your stable, because like I say, it's some stable you're building, and Moses Itauma, I mean, what a fighter he is, 19 years old. When I look at him, I look at his frame, and you can see he's still not got that, I'll call it Mike Tyson shoulders, whatever, but you can there's still more to come from this young.
Yeah, he's 20 years old. What he's capable of is astronomical. What he's achieved so far is very good and generating so much interest, but being honest, it's still just a scratch in the surface in terms of what he's capable of. So it depends on how far he's willing to push it, how far does he want to maximise his ability, and if he's really wanting to do that and maximise his ability to the as far as it'll go, what's achievable is astronomical.
When we talk about the Furies and the Joshuas and the Usyks, we're talking mid to late 30s, close to 40s, the Zhangs, all these guys. Moses Itauma is going to be here for the next 15 years. Is that pressure on his shoulders to carry that heavyweight division going on for those 15 years?
This is part of it. I think what's fantastic is his attitude. There was a quote that he said before the last fight, and I absolutely loved it. He said, for a young man, 19 years old, in the biggest test of his career, on the biggest stage of his career, one of the biggest stages in boxing, bearing in mind, he said, if I'm the man I think I am, I'll get rid of him quite quickly. And I thought to make that statement with that confidence taking into consideration everything, how there was a step up in every situation, every scenario, that really impressed me. And I think that's one of the things with him, when you mention about the pressure and things like that, he just takes it in his stride, and I think that's part of what makes him, not makes him who he is, but allows him to become what he's becoming at such a young age.
Definitely, and I tell you what, the young man is causing a stir right now, the way he's performing, and we remiss me not to talk about the big man himself and Anthony Joshua. I mean, you've been in his camp. We know AJ's his own boss. We know that he'll decide when he fights and whatnot, but as you're his coach and you've been around AJ for a wee while now, when you look at the landscape of the heavyweight division now with Tyson retiring, what's next for AJ? Have you spoke about who you would like to face in June, whenever that may be?
I think one thing with AJ, has shown that he's always willing to fight anybody, really. I think that's one thing you can say. Even at times when the public, we know how demanding the public can be, and even at times when the public has said, don't take that fight, he's took that fight. So I think that's never in question with him. I think that the land can change very quickly. He's in a position at the moment where he's getting himself right and ready to get back into full training. He's not quite in full training yet. And when that comes, he'll see how the land lies. But like I say, I think that's one thing with AJ. You can never look and go, oh, he's handpicking that one, handpicking that one. He's all, like I say, even when the public's been like, oh, I don't think you should be jumping into that rematch or doing this or doing that, he's done it. So
you're in a if Tyson and that fight does happen, a lot of people are saying it is happening. You're going to be probably the only person that's going to be in that unique position, knowing both fighters very well, training both fighters, and the magnitude of that. Every single one of these cameras plus another 100 more are going to be chasing you down, wanting that scoop, wanting that interview. Now, when you look at that AJ and Joshua fight, first and foremost, can you see it happening? Do you believe Tyson's retired? You know Tyson very, very well. Can you see that happen first and foremost?
Yeah, people keep asking me that. Do I think he's retired? Do I think... Yes, I know him, and the fact that I know him tells me that I know as much as you know. If there's one thing I know about Tyson, it's that. You know, I don't think he knows. But when he says these things, I think people think that he's trying to be clever, trying to do this. He's not trying to do any of that. He wears his heart on his sleeve, and what he says is what he feels. So, yeah. So I you know, as much as inside scoop, I know as much as anybody else knows, and that's not much.
Well, there you go. You know a lot about boxing, I'll give you that. Ben, if that fight does happen, what's your... I know you're quite a stoic man. I mean, you're quite stoic when you approach the game of boxing. But when you... If that fight does happen and you're in the opposite corner to Tyson, being with Anthony Joshua, and you know both men, what's your emotions going to be like? How are you going to feel about all that?
Yeah, look, you just have to... Situations like that, you have to take it as they come. There's always going to be that respect between me, Tyson, and all of his family that I was obviously close to and got a lot of respect for. But you know, this is one thing I like to pride myself on. There's never been a bad word, I like to think anyway, from my end especially, about any fighter that I've worked with and then not working with or anything like that. I think that says a lot, and I think that's really important. That's important to me, and I like to think that I've got that respect, and I like to think that respect's shown the other way as well. And if that situation occurs, you know, we're all grown men and understand. And
it's going off quiet now. It's Gomez and Bellick in there.
Deal with it when it comes.
Definitely, and like I said, you're in that unique position, but you've got a busy stable, you've got a young stable as well, and an old stable, if you don't mind me saying. But you've got Lee Wood, you've got Aloys coming up to Glasgow, so you come on back up to Glasgow, and Josh Taylor, one of your former fighters as well, and Lee McGregor as well. How excited are you to come up and finally see that? I know you've been seeing Lee in Saudi, but obviously, Aloys in a good fight against Davies Jr, a Scottish guy, is going to be in the lion's den, so to speak. So how excited are you coming back up to Scotland?
Yeah, for sure, love it up there. I was talking about it the other day actually, and that's a great fight for him as well, Davies Jr. Be good to see Josh as well, and I think that's a great fight for him. And introducing himself into the welterweight division, I think Josh has got plenty more still to give him in boxing, and I'm sure he'll show that. And like you mentioned, Lee McGregor in a great fight against Nathaniel Connors. What a great all Scottish fight. And Lee Wood against Anto Kakachi. So yeah, we've got a busy period coming up.
Ben, thank you so much for talking to me, and good luck on Saturday night. No doubt I'll see you at the press conference, but thanks, Ben. Thank you.